that one category is costing. That auditing of costing function or the costing area in a company is called cost auditing. See, the ICWA, it stands for Institute of Cost and Work Accountants of London. Even similarly, we have ICWAI in India, Institute of Cost and Work Accountants of India. But I found this definition is better. So, according to ICWA of London, cost audit is the systematic verification of correctness of cost accounts and adherence to the cost accounting plan. Please note down the keywords. I'll tell you: systematic verification, correctness of cost accounts, and adherence to cost accounting plan. So you should understand the meaning with this. See, cost auditing means, in general statutory auditing, we will verify, we will examine the books of accounts, most preferably profit and loss, balance sheet, and cash flow statement. However, when it comes to the cost auditing part, we will examine or we will conduct the audit function of the costing related books. I hope you all have studied the cost accounts in your 4th semester. So there you have prepared costing reconciliation statement, stock verification statement, and even if in 5th semester you may have some subject, those who have taken accounts as specialization. That's fine. So you generally have an idea of what is cost and what is cost accounting. So a cost audit, the duty of a cost audit is to systematically verify. Okay, like general auditing, he systematically in a procedure and manner, he will verify and examine the books of accounts which is related only to the costing. That is called correctness of cost accounts. And similarly, he will also ensure that adherence. Adherence means following. And adherence in the sense following the rules. That is compliance in standard terms. So adherence to the cost accounting plan. Those who are into the manufacturing companies, they all will have costing details and they will all have some costing plan related to them. So auditing or the cost auditing specifically will have two objectives. One is to verify or check the genuineness of the cost accounts, costing records. Second, he should also verify whether the plan what they have done to do costing has been completely followed, or to what extent that have been achieved. The plan has been successfully achieved. So in a bit more explanation can be obtained in the second paragraph. It is an audit for verifying the cost of production. So first thing is they will check the cost of production, starting from the raw materials till the goods or the finished goods will move out of the company. He will verify the cost incurred for the production. So that is called cost of production. Then labor cost. Labor cost means the cost involved for the labor or the manpower, those who are involved in the manufacturing unit. That is called labor cost, and other specific cost with maybe stock maintenance or any other cost. So I'll repeat, cost audit is the auditing for verification of cost of production, labor cost, that is human related cost, and other cost based on the cost accounts or costing records maintained by the company. So you can ask whether it is mandatory. Yes, but there are some rules. Cost audit is mandatory for manufacturing firms. I hope you know the major difference between manufacturing and non-manufacturing firm. Okay. Cost audit is mandatory for manufacturing firms. See, manufacturing means that firm should convert some material as a raw material into some finished goods. So they should completely change raw material into finished goods. That is called manufacturing firms. So for those such manufacturing firms who have the net worth above 5 crores or total of the sales exceeds 20 crores in any one particular financial year. Listen carefully again. Who it is. Cost audit is mandatory for manufacturing firms. If again net worth is more than 5 crores, total sales includes both cash sales and credit sales. Okay. So if the total sales is more than 20 crores, for such companies they should compulsorily undergo for a cost auditing, and this is rule as per section 23 subsection B of the Companies Act 1956. So this is a just meaning of a cost auditing. So let's move on to objectives. Objectives is the final goal or the intention of why we should do a cost audit. Into that, the first thing is find out the accuracy of the costing data. Okay. They should, as a cost auditor, he should find out how accurately they have maintained the costing data. For a simple reason, see, when you take up, what can I say? For example, when you take up the chocolates, it is the cost of a chocolate or the final price of a chocolate is just 1 rupee. So just think about the cost they have incurred for production. It's not even 10 paisa or 20 paisa. It's in those numbers. So 20 paisa and 80 paisa are very small numbers which could be left out very easily. Okay. So so as a cost auditor, he should find out how accurately they have maintained the costing data. Hello. Yeah, find out the accuracy of the costing data related to or it may be production, it may be raw material conversion, or entire costing, cost of production, we can say. The second concept is ensure costing principles are followed. Similarly, how we have accounting principles, there are some principles that are necessarily to be followed by a cost auditing also. So for that purpose, cost auditing is very much important, so that the auditor and the both and the company both can ensure that the costing principles are completely followed and they have not violated any of the rules or the guidelines that have been followed by related to the costing data. So this is second objective. Third is identify the function of costing department. So auditor wants to know exactly how the costing department will work in the company. He should have a clarity that whether they are functioning with transparency, whether they are functioning genuinely, whether they are cheating or not, whether there are too much errors, is there any discipline in maintaining the records. For everything, each and every function related to the costing department should be known by the auditor, and for that purpose cost auditing is very much compulsory. Okay, and the fourth point is provide timely suggestions. Timely suggestions in the sense, the auditor with his expertise and with his knowledge, he will give suggestions from time to time, so that the costing data can be improved, or the costing methods can be improved by the sorry, the costing methods can be improved by the company on an overall basis. That is called provide timely suggestions. And ultimately find out if there are wastage of resources. This is very much important because the companies can simply show that they have incurred more number of expenses by wasting the resources. So in order to avoid this and to save the resources, and even to ensure that the company is not under the real loss, cost auditing is very much essential, so that the auditor can prove that you are incurring more loss because of wastage of resources, and your resources are wasting because of lack of technology, because of improper administration or mismanagement, or due to faults in the machinery, or there may be any number of cases. Okay, then advantages and disadvantages of the costing. See, when it comes to advantages and disadvantages, uh, as like any auditing, you have some general advantages. It may be identification of errors, identification of frauds, or to know whether the balances are good, to check whether the management is efficient. Each and everything are general things, but that's why I have not included in this many. Only with respect of specifically to the cost audit, I have included advantages and disadvantages here in the section. These advantages and disadvantages are exclusively meant only for the cost audit, and you can even write it for I mean, some points cannot be right for other types of audit, but generally it is only suitable for cost auditing. Two major objectives, I can say, that forms the concept of costing. Cost control means you should ensure that the total cost incurred in the company, in the factory, should not be more than what you call, should not be beyond the planned or the budgeted cost. That is called cost control. For example, you have planned that I should not spend more than 100 rupees to produce this product. So in such a case, cost control is, you will try to bring up that cost to a maximum limit of 100. It should not cross 100, but it can come below 100. Somehow you should ensure that it should not go above 100. So that is called cost controlling. Similarly, and on the other hand, cost reduction is, you will try to reduce the cost what is actually incurred. Okay, so in this case, actually your plan was 100 to bring up the cost, but somehow you will think that 100 is also too much and you will try to bring it up to 95 rupees. So you're saving the 5 rupees cost. So just think, similarly even cost reduction is also works. That is, what are the goods you have been produced, you should ensure that the particular cost for the production should not increase or should not go above 95. That is cost reduction. Reducing in the number or the limit itself is called cost reduction. Trying to make up within the limit is called cost control. Okay. And second point is price fixation. So when you know exactly what cost you have produced, so you can easily set a price to sell it. Uh, Once you know that you have been incurred rupees 100 as your cost, for example, you can add 20 rupees as your profit margin and sell that particular goods as at 120. If you are not clear with what cost you have incurred, then you may charge very huge abnormal profits, which also again leads to your loss of customers, because customers don't pay. They think that this is too much beyond the normal market rate. And if you don't have any cost idea or the idea that how much you have spent, and if you charge less price, then in such a case again you will be under the loss. Okay, so this is called price fixation. That is one of the advantage. When you do cost auditing, you will come to know how much cost is actually incurred, and you can easily set a price for that. Next is cost comparison. For example, imagine you are a company which are producing two or three similar kind of product. I can tell you, give a good example is, see, the smartphones Viva and Oppo, what we use. The producer, the manufacturer of both these firms, imagine they are same. Okay. For example, one single manufacturer is producing both Viva and Oppo phone. So in that sense, he should know whether Viva is incurring most cost or Oppo. That Oppo manufacturing will incur more cost. So he can facilitate the cost comparison between similar products. And in it, similarly, the cost can be compared using different companies also. For example, we have both Colgate and this Close Up. Both are producing toothpaste, and they can analyze whether their cost is more or the other competitors cost is more. So due to cost auditing, we can easily compare the cost, and we can fix the costing policies. So fourth advantage is interest of investors and public. Obviously, this is related to price fixation. So when you have the clear cut idea about what cost you have incurred, ultimately you will transfer that benefit what you have gained to the particular interest or the public of the or the investors. You won't be under severe loss, you won't be getting any abnormal gain, so you will be a good trend in the market. Similarly, there are some disadvantages also, which is common. When there are advantages, there should be also be some disadvantages. First is expensive and time consuming, because cost audit is additional, and I mean it is not compulsory to everything. An auditor should also conduct the financial auditing, should also conduct tax auditing, and he should also conduct cost auditing. So that's why it is expensive and little bit more time consuming, because it is an extension of the work. Risk of frauds are more. As I told you, in the costing data, the numbers could be highly manipulated, especially when they are in paisas or 1 rupee, 2 rupees, especially when they're in very smaller amounts, they can be manipulated a lot, and as a result, there are high chances of making frauds. So this is the biggest challenger for the cost auditor, and it is also a disadvantage of cost audit. Sometimes the auditor may himself for make a fraud, or he may make an error also without knowing that, and he may miss a major data. And to hide some data from the auditor, company may go for frauds, so which is also a disadvantage. And the disadvantage under the third point is unrealistic expectations. See, unrealistic expectation is when you set a costing budget or a costing plan, you set your expectation or budget in such a way that that is totally out of reality. It is not even similar to reality. For example, on an average, you know that one smartphone may cost around 7 to 8,000 at a normal market rate. So even if you have 1,000 as a profit margin, your cost, total cost should be 7,000. We can say. Imagine if you are direct manufacturer to consumer distribution. So if you are manufacturer, at least you did 7,000 cost, but you will estimate cost in such a way that I will produce this phone in rupees 3,000, which is less than, which is more than 50% difference. That is highly impossible. And if you want to produce 3,000 rupees in a smartphone with 3,000, you have to bring all the cheap materials which are not of good quality and which is highly threatening to the customers. Again, for short-term gain, you lose your company reputation and goodwill. So when we do a cost auditing, when the company undergo a cost auditing, auditor will get to know whether this particular budget or this particular plan is realistic, whether this is towards reality or it is highly deviating from the reality. That should not happen. So fourth disadvantages is non-transfer of benefits. Even though some companies may have reduced the cost, they don't charge that particular cost benefit to the the ultimate consumer. For example, your actual cost of production was 100 and later you made some changes in the policies and your cost of production came to rupees 90. So your profit margin doesn't change. Imagine your profit percentage or amount doesn't change. So you have gained some 10% of benefit, and actually ethically you should give that 10 rupees profit in form of discount to the consumers, but you don't do that because you want to gain that 10 profit for yourself, and this is one of the biggest disadvantage. Even if you do cost audit, sometimes auditor may not notice this or sometimes he may ignore it as a common fact of business. So that is second, that is the fourth disadvantage that will be occurring in the cost auditing. Okay, so we had meaning, objectives and advantages. So before going to next topic, anybody is having any doubt, please unmute and ask. I'll give some 1 minute or 30 seconds of time. Look up at the chat section if there are any doubts. You can unmute and ask if you have any doubts.
No doubt, sir.
No doubt. Okay, one person said no doubt. Okay, fine. Okay, let's move on with the next topic called the management auditing. Sorry. Okay, we'll go on with the next topic called the management audit. So this is one of again the second or one of the again recent trends that have emerged. Management audit means you will audit the functioning or the working style of the management. Clear? Management all levels. How many levels are there? There are 3 levels of management. We all know: top level, mid level, and low level. So the ultimate objective of the management audit is they should check the efficiency of all the 3 levels of the management. They should understand how the 3 levels work, how the coordination is between them, and how the management functions will ultimately result in the business performance. So this should be understood by the management auditing. Meaning says that management audit is the systematic evaluation, obviously, and assessment, that is analysis of activities. As I told you, in a management audit, they look up the work or the activities what you have done at all the levels of management. It may be top level, middle level, low level. So what we will find out from management audit? To find out whether the functions mean the work that are being done, the policies, the rules, the regulations, what they have planned, those policies, and efficiency, how much effectively, how much efficiently they are doing the work, how much resource they are using, I mean how much resource they are avoiding, how much resource they are saving, how best they will do with a very short span of time or with very short amount of resources. That is called efficiency. And achievements of the company, I'll repeat. So the management auditing, through the management auditing we can know whether the functions, policies, efficiency and achievement of the company are meeting with the standards set by the company. So in the management audit, an auditor will undergo the auditing of all the 3 levels, so he can analyze whether the task, rules, regulations or whatever they are they matching to the standards which are already, or the benchmark which are already standards set by the company. Because as a company you have some objectives, you have some goal, and based on that goal you are working. And if you are very much inefficient and if you are struggling to meet your goals, then somewhere your management skills are lacking. This should be identified by the management auditor, and he will check, oh your goal is, I mean you are in a good track of goal, you are going in a right path, you will reach it very early, he may say. Or he may find out that the goals are beyond realistic expectation, they have set very big goals, very broad goals which are beyond their reach. So he may ask them to reduce the the extent of the goals, reduce the standard of the goal. Or he may tell that your goal is correct but you are not working, so increase your efficiency in such. So by through management auditing, an auditor comes to know of all this and he can give recommendation. The second point here is very important. It not only involves audit of financial information but also the non-financial information. In fact, the non-financial information are to be more audited under management auditing, because when you tell how you work, when you tell what kind of employees you have, you cannot measure in numbers. You can tell that, sir, I have a very good employee who has studied so much and who has this much of experience. As an auditor, I ask, okay, that's fine. His qualification is good. How much you work? Can you tell in numbers? Means you cannot express it. Sir, he works at an amount of this. No, you cannot express in money. So those are qualitative information attributes. Even an auditor should be an expert to evaluate such non-financial information also. So this is the main task of management audit. Objectives is, first one, to track the progress of management audit. Management, that's all, not audit. Kindly forgive the last word. To track the progress of management, in the sense, as I told you, when we conduct a management audit, we come to know whether the management is at what phase, at what speed, at what direction in achieving the goals. That is called a tracking the progress of the management in reaching the goals. Second point is to evaluate the duties of all the levels of management. Obviously, a management auditor will analyze what are the duties that are allocated to various levels. Some levels will do beyond their limit and ability. Some management levels will perform less than their ability, will underperform. So auditor should analyze all these things, and he should ensure that at the end of auditing, his recommendations will be equitable allocation between all the levels of management. To increase the overall efficiency of the management, if they are inefficient or if they want to improve the more efficiency, management auditing is done. Compare the input output based performance. It is nothing but called efficiency. So how much input you are getting, and from those input how much output you are producing. As a management auditor will work on this, and to suggest to recommend suggestions for the betterment. So he, as a management auditor, he will definitely recommend, he will give ideas to the management so that how the business can be improved in an overall way. Okay. Features of management audit. See, management audit is something little bit different from other types of audit, because the very unique factor about the management audit is it cannot be done every time by a single person. You need a team of experts, because in a manufacturing company or in any company, you can say there won't be any one department. You have HR, you have production, you have purchase, and you have those called strategic management, you have financial officers, you have a number of departments, and one person cannot be so much efficient or so much able to perform an audit for all these various departments. Sometimes expertise and experience also matters, and that's why audit should be done at, it's comprised a team of experts. The experts may be having experience and knowledge in various kinds of fields. So all these people will join together, will make a team, and they will conduct the audit function of different departments at which they are expert, and ultimately they all sit together, analyze the results, and give a single report. That is of management audit. So this is called comprising of team of experts. Audit done at all levels of management. Second point is audit done at all levels of management, obviously, because it cannot be you cannot judge the efficiency of management by only top board or by only the labor force. Involves an appraisal of the activities of the management. It means they evaluate each and every activity, each and every function that is conducted at all the levels of management. For when we talk about top level management, they will evaluate what are the comprise of board of directors, how efficient are the directors of the company, what sort of decision they are making, how they are managing the money, what plans they are doing. Similarly, when we come under middle level management, they will check how they are coordinating or how they are linking between top and low level management, how they are bridging it. That is done by middle level management. And when it comes to low level management, they will check whether the lower labor force they are performing well, whether they are really capable for the job, how many skilled force are there, how many unskilled. All this will come under appraisal of the activities. Fourth point is internal auditor is a suitable person. This means in an internal audit, in a management auditing, we can trust on the internal auditor, because yesterday as we discussed, internal auditor is a employee of the company, so he know better how the company is functioning, because as he is a part of the company, he obviously know better than the outsiders. So internal auditor is one of the suitable person who can perform the internal audit. But the biggest challenge for internal auditor when he becomes a management auditor is he should be ethical and genuine. That is, he should not be influenced by the management, or he should not be hesitant in expressing the mistakes done by the management. And fifth point is the team will be decided based on the scope of management audit. Sometimes the companies may not may not want all the three levels to be audited at equal level. Some level may require only less auditing, and some require more auditing. So based on the scope of management auditing, the team of experts will be decided. And what are the contents of the management audit report? So at the end, management auditors will analyze the efficiency and will prepare a report. This report generally has the relation between the management and staff. They will tell how the relationship is between the management and staff, whether they are healthy, whether they are cooperating with each other, or whether there is a communication gap between them. They will write down all the plus and minus between the management and staff. Adequacy of return to the shareholders. So they will judge whether this management is giving proper returns to the shareholder, or is it cheating the shareholders by hiding their accounts, or by not showing the money properly. Okay. And comments on methods of production. This means the management auditor will suggest how the production methods are followed and how they can be improved. Even if this is a task of a cost auditor, but even the management auditor, he will look at the management perspective. Okay, how the control is taken over, how the planning is done. So he will look more towards the qualitative factors in the methods of production. A report on the overall organizational efficiency. This is the ultimate goal that the manager auditor should achieve. He wants to comment whether the overall organization is efficient or inefficient. Next is rate of return on investment, which means it is similar to what are the it's actually one of the financial information. Here the management auditor tells whether the management is efficient to get good return on the money what they have invested in the business, or the management is very much efficient in raising of funds, the management is inefficient in using the money. He'll comment on all these aspects. And deviation from the standard is, as we saw in the management audit definition, they have some already set standards, and management auditor should ensure that the standards are being met, and if there are any deviation, that should be positive and to a little extent. There should not be an abnormal growth or deviation too much from the standards. Notes or organization structure, that is the hierarchy what they are following, and recommendations about company's policies and objectives. So if the auditor feels that the company policy should be changed at any point of time, so he will also recommend that. So he'll suggest to the top and like, you'll change this policy and your efficiency will be like this, and so your profits will grow like this. He'll comment all those things which are very much essential. So this completes management auditing, and the last is very small topic called tax audit. Now you have any doubts in this management audit? The time is running
No, sir.
on.
No, sir.
No. Okay.
No,
Okay.
sir.
Okay. Can you please mute yourself again? The last topic is tax audit. See, the tax audit means it is audit done to ensure validity and credibility of tax related documents. Similarly to cost and management, this is an audit which is exclusively involved only for the taxation purpose, in which only taxation related matters are verified. They have clearly mentioned that it is done to ensure validity and credibility. Credibility is the level to which we can trust it. That is called credibility. Credibility of tax related documents. Okay. The main purpose of tax audit is to adjust the profit and loss account as per the provisions of Section 44AB of IT Act 1961. So this is a provision, Section 44AB of Income Tax Act 1961. This will be the this will be the major provision under which tax audit will be done. So the main purpose is to adjust profit and loss account as per the provisions of income tax. Thus, it is important to know accounting profit and profit as per IT are totally different and are not same. Please listen carefully with this point. I'll explain if possible, I'll explain some example. What we prepare accounts using the accounting principles, we will get some profit. Okay, this includes each and every cost what we have put. But based on the accounting books, we have the chances of getting some tax exemptions for some expenses which you have made on the business. Okay, So for that purpose, we should adjust that particular accounting books with the provisions of the Income Tax Act, so that we can get the tax benefit, or we should sometimes we will be in a position where we should pay more tax. So in both cases can happen. So in such a case, we should adjust the books of accounts which are based on the accounting principles with the provisions of Income Tax Act. And as a result, the profit, net profit what we have got from the books of accounts, and the net profit what we will get by Income Tax Act will be totally different. Uh, was income tax one was a common subject to all in BCom?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. In that you have studied a chapter called Income from Business and Profession, right?
Now we have, sir.
Hello. Okay. Now you have in 6th sem. All right. See, in that when you take up income from business, the very first step you do is you will get the net profit or the profit and loss account, and you will add unallowed incomes, or you will add and deduct many things, right?
Yes, sir.
So the basis is the profit and loss account, which is prepared on the accounting principle, and you will adjust it. Adjusting in such a sense, you will add allowed income, you will add disallowed expenses. So all these adjustments will be done ultimately to arrive at a profit, and that profit will be correct as per the Income Tax Act. So when you compare the question and the final answer there, or what you call a book profit, the profit level what, or the net profit what you have there in the question is altogether different from the profit what you have got in the income tax. So this adjustment is done under tax audit. Are you clear with this point very much? Because it's a very important point,
Yes,
and
sir.
in the examination also, if you write this point, this gives more weightage. Okay. So with this, I'll go with the procedure of tax audit in last topic for the day. Yeah. Guided by the auditing standards and guidance notes of ICAI. Obviously, all the auditing work within India will be guided under ICAI, and the tax audit is also done similar to the auditing standards and guidance which are provided by the Chartered Accountants Institute. Second one, the books of accounts. So the auditor will first understand what are the principles, what are the auditing standard that he should follow, what are the rules of ICAI that he should follow. Then he'll enter the company, then he'll obtain the books of accounts. And once he obtains the books of accounts, he will see the internal control, he will check the document, and he will verify the balances. Because at first he should be believe, or he should make himself clear that the profit what he has got from the accounting principles are correct. Because if that itself is wrong, then ultimately even the tax will also be wrong. So first he will verify that thing. Okay. And he will go on to adjust the profit and loss account as per the rules mentioned under 44AB, under the section 44AB. And ultimately he will arrive at the profit made by tax. So there are two major standards which are common in both accounting profits and income tax profit. That is disclosure of accounting policies. It means the even in the tax audit, I mean even in the tax audit and in the normal statutory accounting audit, the auditor should clearly mention which type of policies they have followed, what type of accounting system they have followed. They should be clearly mentioned. And disclosure of prior period items. Prior period items means the items which are not disclosed in the previous year. For example, if you are doing an audit in the year 2018-19, there are some items to be disclosed, but they will disclose some items called prior period items. Prior period items mean that those items should actually be disclosed in 17-18, but you did not disclose. That's why they are disclosing now. They are showing it now in the present year, that is 2018-19. Then extraordinary items is the items which are not regular to the company. It may be extraordinary income or extraordinary loss, and changes in the accounting policies made. So after analyzing all these things, tax auditor job is to verify this, and he will then ensure that how much tax should be paid for by the company, or how much tax is exempted for the company. He will analyze and come to a conclusion. So this officially completes the chapter 1 of the auditing. I'll just go on with the content from the slide 1. Time. Okay. See, this chapter name is Principles and Practices of Auditing. The subject name is Principles and Practices of Auditing. Chapter 1 is Introduction to Auditing. At first, we went to definition. Definition is audit is an independent examination, which means the verification or the examining the books of accounts without getting influenced by anybody, and he will examine the financial information of any company which doesn't necessarily be manufacturing or those companies which make profit. It can be of any company. And sorry, and the intention of the auditing is to express opinion in that he should tell whether this particular company is doing good, doing bad, or it can be trusted or not. Such expression opinion should be expressed. Objectives, there are two major objectives, primary and secondary. Primary is expressing an opinion. He'll just tell his opinion on the audited statement. That is primary objective. Under that we have four opinions. Unqualified opinion means saying that the financial statements are true and genuine. Second is qualified opinion, which means the auditor will say that this particular financial statement has many limitations. There are some problems, or he will also disclose that some documents cannot be verified by me. That is unqualified opinion. Adverse is he will note down all the problems of the financial statements. Disclaimer of opinion is he cannot come to a conclusion. He cannot decide anything. That is called disclaimer of opinion. Secondary is detection of error and fraud. So error is mistake done intentionally, and error is mistake done without any intention, and fraud is mistakes done intentionally. Under errors we have clerical errors, that is common man-made mistakes. Error of omission means completely removing the entry. Error of commission is writing wrong entries. Error of principle is violating the rules of accounts. Compensating error is one mistake will be adjusted by the other. Funds are mistakes, then frauds. Frauds are done mistakes which are done intentionally. Under this we have three categories. One is embezzlement, or stealing. You can call anything. Stealing of the cash, stealing of goods, and changing the accounts to as per our wish. Differences they have is accountancy auditing is accounting standards and auditing are followed by auditing standards. Accountancy will be done by accountant and auditing will be done by auditor. Accountancy involves preparation of the accounting books. Auditing involves the verification and examining those books. Accountancy is to prepare and maintain record, express opinion. Accountancy is primary task, because without accountancy you cannot even think of auditing. To audit you should need a book of accounts. That's why accounting will come first. And anybody can become an accountant, but anybody cannot become an auditor. To become an auditor, he should only be a chartered accountant and no one else. And for accountant, there is a limited scope, and for auditing, there is broader scope. Okay. Then auditing and investigation, though they look similar, they are different. Auditing is compulsory as per law. Investigation is optional. Auditing is genuine act, and investigation is only for special purposes. Auditing will be done by auditors or chartered accountants, and investigation can be done by anybody. Auditing is generally annually done every year and quarterly, but investigation can be done at any time of the business. It's not necessarily that yearly once. You can do investigation in the 7th or 8th year of the business. Right. Qualities of the auditor, apart from the educational qualification, he should be moral, he should be ethical, he should be independent, he should be honest, he should have a knowledge of business, he should have good writing and oral communication skills, he should be questioning, and he should have very high intelligence, and his judging and decision making skills should be good. Types of auditing, we have many types. Under that, based on is first one is statutory requirement. Statutory requirement means which are compulsorily to be done by the as per the law. The laws say that this auditing should be done compulsory. That's not statutory. And voluntary means the businessman himself feels that his business gets to be audited. That is voluntary. And based on organization policy, internal auditing is auditing done by the employee of a company who is also a CA. External auditing is auditing done by chartered accountant who is out of the organization, who is the third party to the organization. And based on time, we have continuous, interim, quarterly, and final. And the scope, we have complete audit and partial audit. Complete is doing everything, checking everything. Partial is checking only to specific areas. Other types, we have tax, cost management, cash audit, performance audit, which we discussed today. Principles of auditing, some of the same. He should be integrative. He should have an objective. He should maintain confidence. He should have skill. He should maintain proper documents. He should plan. Auditing should be with evidence. So that means for everything there should be a proof. There should be a report. Factors to be considered before commencement of new audit. Sorry. Hello. Hello. Can you write in the chat box? I'll just go up. Just a minute, give me time. Can you say exam point of view, which will be 14 marks and 6 marks? Sure, I'll tell you. Can share PDF? Yeah, I will share. Okay, I'll share in the BU StudyMate website. You can find out. So we were discussing factors to be considered before commencement of new audit. One is auditor should have complete knowledge. He should be technically good. He should ensure that his appointment as an auditor is legal. Accounting system, internal control, organization structure should be good. He should refer to previous year auditor report, and he should also check with the other necessary documents. Preparation before commencement of the new audit is he should study the previous audit reports thoroughly. He should get a clarity on what he should do as an auditor, and he will prepare a plan. He will meet the management. He will discuss with them. He will allocate the staff. He will share the work between the staff, and he will follow up the work, and he will maintain records for everything. Audit program means the plan. So the contents is, when today I rest parts, audit working papers, that's working notes, and audit notebook is similar to audit working papers, where he will maintain a diary, and the today topic is recent trend. So I'll go back to slide 1. We still have 10 more minutes. Starting from the slide 1, please say whether you have a doubt or not. For each slide, I'll give just 10 to 15 seconds of time. Any doubts at this point? Definition?
Sir, can you explain me the significance of tax audit?
Sorry? Significance, you mean importance, right?
Yes, sir.
Importance of tax audit, see, even from the meaning you can analyze. Importance is, the very important thing is to adjust the balances of the books of accounts based on the tax audit, okay, based on the income tax provision. That is, he should see where the company can get benefit of tax, where the company should pay more tax. So that is first thing. That is why tax audit is important. Second significant aspect is, once the company come to know that where they are paying more tax, so they can avail benefits, or they can create more investment to save their tax money, to create, what we can say, to get more tax exemption and save their money. So that is second important thing. Third significance, in the sense we can call, you have tax to be saved something beyond the business. There will be some provisions, like if you invest some money into this particular share or this particular asset, you'll get a tax exemption as a business. So he should think, so from the tax audit perspective, he can even understand how he can save money out of his business, which is completely unrelated. So all these similar points will come, and of course there are even some points which are, you can commonly write for all types of auditing. It may be identification of frauds with respect to tax matters, identification of the verification of the records with related to tax matters. So all these are the significance. Objectives.
Okay, sir.
Are you okay?
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Yeah. Others, please go through the slides once, and if you have any doubt at any point, you kindly ask that itself.
Secondary objectives.
Secondary objective of auditing.
Clerical errors. Under that, error of commission.
1 second. Commission. See, error of commission means due to your stress or as a common mistake, what you will write is, you will write some wrong numbers, or you will write some wrong debit and credit instead of what you actually write. Example, You have purchased a machinery of worth rupees 1 lakh, but in a hurry or in stress, you will write it as 10 lakhs rupees. Okay, that is error of commission. And sometimes you will write 1 lakh rupees in the debit side and 10 lakh in the credit side. So this is error of commission. You are not violating any rules. You are properly following the rules, and you are not even omitting the entry, but you have written that entry in a wrong way. That is error of commission.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.